today, this video anyways, I am just going to do like a chatty and get ready with me and fill you in on a little bit about my life. Like I said, I would start doing a little bit. So first, this is how I do my makeup if I want it to last like forever and a day. So I take setting spray first, and I do really enjoy the Fenty setting spray. Like, look at this, you guys. Like, look at the mist. It's beautiful. So I always do a setting spray first. Let that dry. This was my mama's. Isn't it darling? I love it. This was my mama's. I could just imagine like how old this is, because I know she never ever used it. But I love it. And then I'm going to put on some primer. So I'm going to use the Fenty Beauty primer, which I only had purchased the small size because I wanted to make sure that I liked it. And I do like it. And it's almost empty. But I just don't think I'll repurchase it, only because I have so many primers to use, you know? And like, if you're a makeup person, you know that for some reason we always tend to go to our favorites, right? Even though we could have freaking 20 of these primers, you know, on the go, you always tend, well, I do anyways, tend to go back to my favorites like all the time when I'm just doing like, you know, a get ready thing or whatever. Unless I'm doing something like a review or, you know, like trying everything from a subscription box or something, you know what I mean? Like, other than that, like, tend to go to your favorites all the time. At least I do anyway. So then I do that, and I'm going to let that sit for a few moments. So let's chatty. So let's start talking a little bit about my life. Oh, I just had a ring literally break in half and fell off. There's one piece of it. Oh well, no big deal. So let's start. Where do I start? Let's start with when I was young. When I was a young girl, as far back as I can remember, and I only remember like bits and pieces of like my childhood and like teenage years and stuff. But what I do remember is I have always been sick. Like, there was always like something all the time. And like, as far as I know, like whenever I was young, like they just didn't know what was going on with me. They did like had run, I guess, like blood tests and stuff like that, and like nothing ever came of it. And I was extremely tiny. Like, honestly, people used to think I had an eating disorder because of how skinny I was. And that's not a joke. I was actually even like made fun of in school, like in grade school, all the way up like into all through high school and everything, because of how skinny I was, right? Until I got to be like about, you know, the 15, 16 mark. whenever, you know, everything starts to change with you. So yeah, so there's that. Now I'm gonna go back. I do setting spray again. Okay, that's what I do. Oh, and I already did all my skin play and stuff. So nothing ever came of that. So then moving on to, you know, moving out on my own and having my own kids and stuff like that, I had issues like with each pregnancy of not being well. My first pregnancy, I was actually admitted into the hospital for a couple of months because I was so dehydrated and I could not keep anything down. Like, no matter what they did, give me anything, like nothing would just stay down. I was so desperately ill. So I was in the hospital for a while, with them running all kinds of tests and stuff, and, you know, and making sure baby was okay and everything. And I was on an IV like that whole time pretty much, right? To keep me hydrated. So I'm just gonna we're gonna move on to some foundation, and this is my new love, the Giorgio Armani. I have the shade 2. This is my absolute new love. What do you think? Anyways, so yeah, so they, like, you know, they did all kinds of tests, you know, whatever, and nothing came about, you know, whatever. And then I was sent home, you know, had baby, that I was, you know, he was healthy and, you know, decent weight. He was 7 pounds 1 ounce, and, you know, nothing wrong with him, whatever, you know, everything all fine. My labor was extremely hard. So anyways, he ended up being colic. Lovely for my first child. But, you know, anyways, things go on, whatever. And then I get pregnant again. And in that pregnancy, it wasn't so bad. That one wasn't so bad. I just stippled to you guys. I guess I could sit up closer, eh? Or zoom in closer. Hang on here. Okay. So anyways, that pregnancy wasn't, like, you know, so bad. And except for, like, at just before 8 months, I was like 7.5, I guess, months pregnant. And I went into the hospital because I thought I was in labor. And, you know, they put the thing on, you know, you stay for a couple hours, whatever, and they check you, whatever. And I wasn't. It was just Braxton Hicks. But I was dilated already 2 centimeters, and I was spotting. And that spotting didn't stop until I had her. So I had to be, like, really careful of everything that I was doing. And I wasn't, like, allowed to pick up my son, who was, like, you know, just over a year old. Because, yes, I had them very close together. They're 14.5 months apart. So luckily, like, I had my parents. So I would stay with my parents, like, during the day with my little one, and they would help out, you know, like, with lifting him or whatever for me, right? So there was that, and I had her 8 days late, on the actual day that I was scheduled to go into the hospital to be induced. So I had her, she came right at the right time on her own. And again, same thing, like, you know, normal, you know, healthy baby, all good, you know, all good in the hood kind of deal and stuff. And she was perfect, like tiny though. She was like, you know, she was 6'6". No, she was 6'11". And like an excellent baby, immediately like slept 12 hours every night. Amazing. So then going on from that pregnancy, you know, back to normal life or whatever. And of course, like, you know, I'm sick all the time. And when I mean sick all the time, I mean like flu-like symptoms, a lot of the times not being able to keep anything down, migraines like from hell, like body aches and pains, like as if you have the flu, and exhaustion and stuff like that, right? But like when it comes to that, like exhaustion and you know, whatever, like symptoms all like that, you kind of tend to just chalk them up to being a mom, right? With two very small little ones, right? So anyways, moving on. And then 2 years after my daughter, I get pregnant again. And this pregnancy was tough because at like 2 months pregnant, I was bedridden because I was bleeding, and not just bleeding a little bit, okay? I'm not going to be graphic there, but you can just use your imagination. So, and they could not find for the life of them where this was coming from. They did like ultrasound after ultrasound after ultrasound, like blood tests, you know, everything, and like they just could not figure out why I was, and or like even where it was coming from, because the baby looked fine, everything was good, except for, you know, me not feeling good and stuff, right? So I was bedridden. So now that made it tough, because now I have 2 toddlers at home that I now can't pick up, right? At all. And like I'm extremely exhausted and can't do a whole lot. So luckily, you know, at the time, like I was with my ex-husband then, right? So luckily, you know, he was around, and my brother also was living with us. So, and he's 9 years older than I am. So thankfully, like he was there too, you know, like, and he helped out a lot as well. So that was all, you know, fine and dandy, whatever. So I have baby's healthy, just, you know, tiny, 6 pounds, 6 ounces, which is fine because I was tiny. My first pregnancy, when I got pregnant, my first pregnancy, I was 77 pounds when I got pregnant with my first one. And then my second one, I was like in the 90s. And then my last one, I was like 83 pounds when I got pregnant for him. So you can see like what I mean about being tiny, okay? Like I've always been like that. So it was nothing like, you know, not normal or anything, you know what I mean? Because that was my norm for my whole life. So anyways, you know, after baby, I'm using the Ofra Pro Palette, the On the Glow Volume 2. love these palettes, you guys. These are my favorites. This one and the first one like this, my ultimate faves. Use them all the time, especially when I'm like doing quick, like, you know, get ready, because like everything's all in one palette. Like bing bang boom, I can do eyeshadow, everything from this, right? It's perfect. So where was I? So anyways, you know, I go back to, you know, being, you know, this normal life, whatever, after, you know, I have baby. And, you know, it's just like the regular, like, you know, I'm sick, you know, here and there, and extremely tired, and, you know, all that stuff, which is, I guess, the norm for me. And anyways, you know, life goes on. You know, I go through life, whatever, like being the same way my whole entire life. And, you know, working, you know, job to job, whatever. And, you know, sometimes working 2 and 3 jobs, you know, at a time to get through life, you know, whatever. Because at, like, you know, at one point, you know, I had become a single mom of 3. So you do what you have to do, right? So anyways, I had a hard time with working because of being sick all the time. Actually, we need to backtrack here. We need to backtrack to after I had my last one, my last baby. He was, so he was, okay, so 9 months old when I got scheduled to have a partial hysterectomy. Because one of the things that used to happen to me, like since I started my, you know, monthly Mother Nature stuff, it would be extremely heavy, and sometimes I could be standing there talking to you and then I would just pass out from losing so much, right? I'm not going to be graphic. You could put that together, I'm sure. So anyways, so, you know, so I finally seen, because this happened like all through my life, okay? And nothing was ever like done about it. I was sent to see specialists and stuff, like, you know, out of town into big cities and stuff, and like nothing was ever done. Like they just kept saying that they couldn't figure out anything wrong, that maybe, I guess this is just the way I was or something. So anyways, I finally got sent to this specialist, and he did, you know, all kinds of tests and everything, and ultrasounds and stuff or whatever, and go back to see him to get my results and stuff and see what he says. And he said, well, he said, here's the thing. You can either have another baby now, he said, and then we do like a partial hysterectomy, like right away, or he's like, we just do the partial hysterectomy, like now. And I said, heck no, no more babies. So I'm like, sign me up for that partial hysterectomy. So because I was so young, I was only 25 years old. Because I was so young, he had to have a second opinion. So he literally walked across the hall, knocked on the doctor's door, said, you know, da-da-da-da-da, whatever he had to say. And so that doctor grabbed my chart, you know, took it for a little bit, whatever, went over a bunch of stuff, and came back and said, yep, I agree, you know, she needs to have a partial hysterectomy, and she probably should have had this done a long time ago. So my doctor says, you're good with this? And I'm like, yep. So I said, sign me up, like, as soon as you can. So he did, and it came, like, it was March 4th. I will not forget. It was March 4th. So I go in, and my big thing was like, you promise, like, I'm not going to be in pain. Like, you promise. Like, I literally was, when they had me in the prep room, and my family doctor came in to see me, and I said to him, and I was crying, and I was like, you need to promise me that I am not going to be in pain. And he said, no, I promise you. He said, if you have any issues, anything at all, he's like, get in contact with me, call my office, get them to page me, whatever. He said, if there's like any really bad issues, right? He said, but you should be fine. And then, so they had the IV in me, and then a nurse, while he was in there talking to me, came in to put the catheter in me, which I had never had one done before. But, you know, I had researched how that it was done, and I was scared of that. So I told her, I'm like, no. I'm like, just do it whenever you put me out. And she was like insisting that she had to do it then. And I was like, no. And I got like really upset again. And my doctor was standing there, and my doctor said, no. He said, you can obviously see that she's, you know, very upset, and she has a lot of anxiety about this whole situation. He said, no. He said, just leave it. He said, it can be done whenever she's put out. It's not a big deal. So thankfully, he was there for that. So that was done, you know, whatever. So I had that done. And, you know, and then I wake up, you know, whatever, in my room. I'm using the blush in here too. Everything's going to be from this palette. I wake up, you know, in my room, whatever, and like they have a medication machine, like, you know, a pump thing hooked up to me so that I can pump whenever I need for pain, right? And you can only pump so often because the machine, you know, well, it doesn't let you, right? It only lets you pump whenever you have to. Or whenever you like, you absolutely need to, whatever, right? It won't let you like overdose yourself. So I wake up, and my now ex-husband was, you know, sitting there, and I'm in pain. And but he said he had the pump in his hand, and he was worried about me being in pain while I was sleeping. So whenever the machine would beep, he would hit the pump for me. But so like I wake up and I'm in pain. So I'm trying to wait and see like if this medication is going to like, you know, work, like what the heck is going on here. And, you know, after like about an hour, like I am just in excruciating pain. So I'm crying. So my husband, like, you know, goes and gets a nurse, and a nurse comes in, and she's like, you know, looking at it, you know, and she's like, oh, well, you know, the machine is saying da da da, and, you know, it's working. And I'm like, it's not working because I'm in pain. So anyways, just once again, just as my husband is standing in the hallway, he sees my family doctor walking by the front desk, like the nurse's desk. So he goes and grabs him, and he says, like, she's in a lot of pain, she's crying, they can't figure out what's going on, yada yada yada. So my doctor comes in, and he's like checking me, you know, whatever and stuff, doing whatever he needs to do. So then he starts checking the machine, and da 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 da, and there was a kink in the hose. So that medication wasn't even going into me. Like, it wasn't going past that kink in this hose. So they had to change all that. And thank God for him, because the nurse was like, oh, no, everything's fine. Like, anyways, so everything goes fine and dandy, you know, with all that. Get out of the hospital, you know, whatever. No, actually, I guess they send it off to like the pathology, whatever department, whatever that, you know, to have it, you know, it checked or whatever. But my specialist came in, like, you know, on the second day, and he said to me, he said, have you ever been, how do I say this on YouTube, SM'd when you were little? And I'm like, not that I can recall, not that I know. And I'm looking at him like all weird. I'm like why? And he said, because, he said, be thankful you have the 3 children that you have. He said, because your uterus had so many tears in it, you should never have been able to even carry a child. And I was like, say what? And he was like, yeah. So be very thankful and blessed you have the 3 children that you have. So that's kind of like, you know, whatever, scary. But he said, like, you know, my uterus is with a pathologist or whatever, checking it to see, you know, they have to go through everything with it, right? Which is fine, like, but he said, like, it didn't look like anything really bad, serious or anything, like, you know, like, not to panic or anything like that. But that is what he found with my uterus. So, okay, anyways, you know, life goes on more, and I'm still sick all the time, you know, going through life, whatever, going from job to job, because it's, like, so hard to hold down a job being this way, right? So I'm just dipping back into the bronzer, just taking whatever brush I grabbed out of there, and I'm just throwing that right up here in my crease. So had a hard time, you know, holding down jobs for a long time because of being sick and stuff. And then I'm thinking now, maybe 10 years ago, I finally I had gotten a new doctor here where I live, because my other doctor had retired. And the new doctor I got was young and, like, you know, just out of, you know, doctor college, whatever, university, whatever they do for like a couple of years. Like, so he's like, you know, almost brand spanking new. So I go and have an appointment with him and talk with him and stuff or whatever and everything. And he immediately sends me off, or sends off a referral for me to go see this, what is it called? Like this rheumatoid arthritis specialist, which is like 6 to 7 hours away from here. But I guess he's supposed to be like the top notch one, like in this kind of sort of area, right? So I go see him. Well, actually, first I went and seen a different one, and I was literally in this other one's office. I swear, 10 minutes max. And he checked my reflexes, did my blood pressure, and told me that I should start smoking the devil's lettuce, because it will help with my pain. And that was it. So when I went back to my doctor, he sent me to this other one, this really good one, right? So I go see him, and like, you're in his office for forever. I'm just dipping my finger in to, like, I don't know, whatever here, whatever highlighter. You're in his office for hours, because you're going in and seeing, like, the nurse. He has a nurse practitioner first, so you're seeing her and going over everything that you can remember as far back with her. And then after you're done with her, she goes and talks to the doctor, because the doctor's with like another patient. So after he's done there, she goes and talks with the doctor, and tells him blah, 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 you know, fills him in on everything. And then when he comes in the room, he starts talking to me about everything and stuff. And like, because before I went there, I had to have like all this certain blood work and x-rays and ultrasounds and everything done before I went to see him, right? So he goes through everything like very thoroughly, and he diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and fibromyalgia. So now it's like, I gotta learn about fibromyalgia. Like, what is this? And what do I do? So, you know, he prescribes me pain medication to take for it. You know, and I have to go back and see him, and, you know, he gives me stuff to research and read up on and all kinds of stuff, right? So, finally get a diagnosis, which is great. Finally, you know, so that's like a huge, huge relief off of me, knowing now that I'm not going crazy, like, I'm not lying, you know, when I say, like, I'm sick all the time, like, I'm not lying. And to have somebody finally believe you, to tell you, like, yes, this is what you're going through, and yes, this is, like, you know, everything that you're doing, like, you're going through matches up to this exactly, right? So it's like, wow, that's crazy. So anyways, you know, I go home, you know, and I'm learning all about, you know, all these arthritises and stuff, whatever, which I pretty much knew a lot about them because my mom had both of those arthritises, right? Just not the fibromyalgia part. So that's all wonderful and fun and dandy. So see that, you guys? As done, everything with one palette. Love it! Love it, love it, love it. These will always be in my stash, I can tell you that. And you guys, you're not gonna find a better formula. Like, when you have an artistry palette like this with everything in it, I'm telling you, Ofra has the stinking best. The stinking best. Okay, so I went off camera for a little bit, and I just decided, since this video is getting lengthy, I went ahead and did my lips, and I did my mascara and liner. But as you can see, I'm so messy with mascara, so I figured I would just come back here and take this off with you guys so I can say my goodbyes, and you guys will tune in for the next one where I will continue on. So we'll leave this right now at the diagnosis of fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, and osteoarthritis. Okie dokie smokies. So what I would like from you guys is, in the comments, if any of you experienced any of this, chime in the comments and let me know what your experience is with all of this, because that would probably really help me, and I could answer you back, and maybe we could help each other. You know what I mean? Like, maybe tell me your symptoms, how long you've had whatever, you know, and how you treat it, what, you know, the whole shebang, whatever. So chime in the comments and let me know. So I will say thank you all for tuning in and, you know, listening to my little story starting, you know, of my life. And stay tuned for the next one. If you're not subscribed, please smash that subscribe button. Join my little YouTube family that we have going here. And please, you guys, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up, and leave a comment, anything. Even if you put an emoji or write algorithm or like anything, just put it in there so it'll pop me into the algorithm of YouTube. So they would, you know, boost my videos up to be recommended and more people can see. And then more people can probably chime in and help out with all of this life stuff that's been happening to me. Okay, I love you guys. Mwah. Kisses from your northern beauty gal. Mwah. Bye, everybody.